Welcome back, guys, and seems like RRR is having a good series tonight. It's 2-0, and Raven is down 0-2. A little bit of a surprising result tonight because from what we saw from Crucible, I actually rewatched the entire Crucible, and of course we're in a new meta, different meta. Back then was a little bit old, but still, their mechanical skills, and I see a lot of the improvements, especially with the role swap.
And RRR is looking absolutely magnificent today. To be honest, I might be getting a little too ahead of myself, but I think RR is now on the level of of Team Blossom thanks to the recent swap. They looked so clean in terms of macro game in both games 1 and 2, and to be fair, whenever EZZ plays Valstat, they tend to look a bit cleaner like that. But it was on another whole new level today. Aside from a few very questionable positioning mistakes coming out from Decalook Stitches in the early minutes of Game 1, they did not really make too much mistakes. And Raven, they will have to really step up their game if they want to come back into the series.
Yeah, of course, and their positioning and the teamwork has really been there together all along game number 1 and 2. I think it really comes out from all the practice they've been doing. And in terms of Raven, they're missing a lot of the teamwork. And also drafting, I think it's time for not the Asmodan. Please no Asmodan, but I think it's time for them to change a little bit in terms of the styles of drafting. We can already predict basically what kind of role they're going to pick in the next rotation every single time. And game number 3, it's going to be chosen from RRR as they won game number 2. We're going into Dragonshire.
Dragonshire, another map in which Valstat is one of the best heroes on the map. Also Dehaka, as was very well played in the last game as well. So again, looking good for RRR. And Raven, usually when they're down 2-0 in a series, they decide to clown it up. They decide to pick wacky stuff like the no support Asmodan Abathur composition that we saw last night. But they have been flamed to hell and back in the Korean community last night due to not taking the game seriously at all. And that's going to influence them in the draft today. And to be honest, I can understand throwing away a game against L5 because even if you try your best, you might have not the best chances. But against a team like RRR, you don't want to give up even if you're down 2-0.
Yes, I think it can be very possible that Raven, if they bring back their momentum in game number 3, as we saw reverse sweep happen in Korea once this phase, I think. That was at L5 against Tempest. And they had the big momentum swing, and it all started after this break. And after this break, they got some time. They got some extra time to think over game number 1 and 2, take some feedbacks in. Let's see if they draft a little bit different this time, and maybe I was thinking this time maybe just ban Genji from beginning. It's going to stay the same, just like in game number 2.
I really hope they first pick Genji this time. First picking Uther for Chom again will set in motion pretty much the exact same draft that came out in the last game, and they were not very good in the last game.
This is a bait. RR wants them to take the Uther first pick so that they can take Genji and one more.
Yes, so they make the right adaptation.
This is a perfect adaptation that we've been asking for, not actually, only on cast, of course, not to the players for in real. But now they've made some adjustments here, and I like this already coming out. And with that, they can get the perfect pair, Stitches Uther.
Stitches Uther, a proven combination.
That's right.
Also acts as a takeaway of Chom's Uther, so very nice response from RRR. And Raven, the Genji first pick is not only a takeaway from Odux, but is also Genji has been one of Raven's favorite heroes throughout this phase. A lot of the members on Raven have been performing pretty decently on Genji. Hamelin is a pretty decent Genji. Darvish is a pretty decent Genji. So it's not like Raven have been forced to pick Genji. It's just that they have adapted to first picking Genji instead of the Uther. So both teams should be happy, and both teams should... Oh, wow.
They're going against... This seems like game number 1 draft from RRR, actually, when they actually went all-in dive. Raven choosing the dive comp here, Genji, Illidan, and bringing Rhaegar away from MSG. Now the test is MSG. What else can he do? He already picked Uther, so I think that's a good change, but this dive comp looks scary already.
Yeah, Rrr and Uther do not necessarily play the same way, so it's going to be interesting how well he does on Uther. Some questions will have to be answered. And Rrr, Chom has been generally a decent Rrr player, so I'm not too worried for him. I'm more worried about Hamelin Illidan. He has not really been that great in the last game, so he will have to step it up in this one, not make too many the hunt mistakes, and try to coordinate those dive timings alongside his team. And the Abathur ban coming out again. Not too often that you see the second ban Abathur on Dragonshire, but some teams have always been a proponent of playing Abathur on Dragonshire, and Raven is one of those teams. Also, if you look at the draft that they have now, Illidan is most likely going to be piloted by Hamelin, and Genji will most likely be played by Darvish. So NMX, the team's main Abathur player, does not have a pick right now, so I think it makes perfect sense for Rrr to ban out the Abathur. The Dehaka ban, very nice adaptation again from Raven, I believe. They had problems dealing with the double global pressure being put out from Rrr, so taking that away, the only real global that Rrr has now is Falstad, and dealing with that pretty easy, especially pressuring Falstad with Illidan and Genji has been something that's done multiple times throughout this phase in this region.
And the Dehaka ban, I think Raven has adapted with that extra 5 minutes. I think they did their feedbacks, their research within the 5 minutes, looking back into game number 1 and 2, and it all started from the draft. And just looking at these picks and bans so far, Rrr already lost so much strength in their hands, and they have to bring up something new. Plan B's, Plan A worked, but when it's off against you, you have to have something else. And here comes Greymane, which has been banned somewhat, and of course, keeping the Falstad, keeping the global.
Greymane has been one of Oduk's favorite heroes. I believe Greymane is Oduk's most played hero, so that's definitely a comfort pick. And EZZ will most likely be piloting the Falstad for the 3rd game in a row. Of course, it might be different because Kong is a pretty decent Falstad player himself, so it is essentially a flex pick, but I'm assuming that EZZ will be handling Falstad in this game. Now, something that we sort of wanted to see is Rrr going full Dignitas and taking Kel'Thas as well, but that would put too much of a burden on Stitches.
Yeah, way too much.
Yeah, and I don't think they really want to try to make Decalook play like JPL, especially when it's his first day on Warrior playing in the competitive scene. So I like the way that they're thinking, but overall it seems it's more about them picking their comfort heroes, and these two picks do not necessarily synergize well with the early game pressure that Stitches Uther brings.
Okay. And against them, Raven, I think they've got the best draft so far in this series. I see a lot of them being on their comfortable heroes. Their dive seems like the theme is there, the resets are there, Rrr, Ancestral Healing. Whenever that lands perfectly, I think they will have a good time in those team fights. So bringing that little counter, Arthas, of course, as you mentioned, Stitches will have lots of pressure, so bringing that double tank line with Uther will help, but is that going to be enough against this dive comp?
Arthas, pretty decent. He will most likely have the edge in the solo lane, and also, if he decides to ever rotate out of the solo lane, then he will have a backup follow-up CC to chain alongside the hook into Divine Hammer combos, so I like what both teams have drafted here.
Okay, Raven doing their studies. They've freshed up their minds if they have changed in game number 3. Let's see how, if they can bounce back into this series, or this may be the end of the series going to Rrr. Let's go into Dragonshire. In blue, Rrr. Oduk on Greymane, MSG on Uther, EZZ on Falstad, Kong on Arthas. Take a look on Stitches.
And in red, we see Raven. with Darvish on Genji, Hamelin on Illidan, NMX on Leeming, Diong on Anubarak, and Chom on Rrr.
Okay. Alright, Genji. Alright, Genji, I guess. It's always a good pick. Haven't seen Genji in a while.
Resident Sleeper.
Yes, that's the meme. There's a hook. Not much of a follow-up. A little bit late onto Diong as Uther was slightly away from the hook positioning.
Oh, take a look. You don't want to do that again. Don't overextend.
There's a heal coming in.
So nothing happens, thankfully, on the side for RRR.
There's whoa,
nice
max
hook.
range hook onto
Nice
NMX. Lots of damage, and Falstad dives in. Odok may be punished for that, but does survive at the end. What a play there. Max range hook coming out both times.
Really nice hook, and I don't think NMX ever imagined that the hook was going to target him. He was so far in the back. But oh, another hook lands onto Chom. It's not going to amount to much. But take a look. Wow. The stitches had been very underwhelming in Game 1, but in the early minute of Game 3, looking pretty good. Let's see if it holds up throughout the entire game.
Slam builds, of course, having the wave clear, and they have the global. Oh, the Haka was banned last time, so this strapped, so. And this may be punished, but the heals coming in does give the armor. Maybe the focus could have been on Uther, who was a long away from the lane. So good positioning overall in terms of both teams. The gank attempt did not successfully get them a kill, but it was overall good. This power fight in top and the bottom is real. For top, because Genji rotated up against Arthas, we'll get the shrine.
Not too much action coming in around the map. Illidan, interesting positioning, coming down to the mid lane.
Strike does damage to both. Chom dives in, but damage is lacking a little bit as Darvish could have done a little bit more damage, but there's a thing. Now they have so much CCs available. They have the hook, the pair up, the point stun, and the root is available too. So we may actually see lots of Genji overextending and going down here.
Definitely a possibility so far. Both teams playing pretty much standard. Raven's two solo laners, as so to speak, Genji and Illidan, has been a little bit more adventurous, a bit more proactive with their positioning, but it did not amount to anything in particular so far. Attempting to put a little bit of damage onto Diong.
Unless they get the perfect hook with the follow-up, I think it'll be very tough for them to actually get a kill.
They open up the Dragon Knight.
Genji's there to harass, and I think they just want to stall time for this camp to actually push a little bit more, relieves the pressure, and get the bottom shrine. Meanwhile, the Genji is harassing in the mid lane. That's exactly, it seems like what they're going to do now.
I like what Raven has just done. Instead of trying to go 4v4 again at the bottom shrine, they decide to make the best out of their having Rrr and take the siege camp first so they can use the mercenary pressure to take away the bottom shrine without having to engage in a full tussle.
That's the thing. Falstad can fly to top and bottom anytime, but Genji can also slightly do the same because of the Swift Strike. With the Cyber Agility, he can just go over the wall anytime.
So a lot of mind games definitely going on between Falstad and Genji right now. And Raven, since they have Rrr, the standard thing to do for them in this case, once they clear out the remaining siege giants that are pushing onto Raven's bottom fort, they will be looking to rotate Rrr up onto the top bruiser side of the map.
Hamelin juking out some skill shots there and seems pretty comfortable for now. But not was in game 2 and he was diving in alone. But not this time with the full dive calm. I think he'll be having a lot less pressure when there's Genji diving along with him. He'll be looking for those kills, but
Hamelin,
okay.
Good escape.
Those kind of burrow charge actually scares me sometimes. Diong just charging in. Oh.
We saw a lot of times how it can end up when it goes wrong. It goes very wrong, so. Hamelin only at half health, and he used a well a bit earlier, if I'm correct, so he'll have to heal up through the minions. But Chom, as we discussed, moving up onto the top bruiser camp, standard thing to do when you have a Rrr, but thanks to Falstad's good gank onto Illidan, map pressure on the side of RRR, Illidan manages to take away the top shrine.
Yeah, this is the pick. They took away Rrr for the camp timings, and all they have to do is make sure that RRR does not get the Dragon Knight. And meanwhile, Chom gets the camp, and without too many globals from the beginning, once 10, they will have the hunt to catch up in the global. But before, they're using the camps to actually catch up on the macro. Very smart move by Raven.
Overall, I would say that Raven has done a decent job of mitigating the global pressure that Falstad naturally brings with the earlier mercenary camp rotations by Rrr, as you said. So pretty good coming out from Raven. Not to knock anything off from RRR. They have been playing pretty decently as well. Definitely ahead in the structural damage, and that will definitely aid them whenever they take the first Dragon Knights, which they probably will with their level 10 advantage right now. Raven has done a very decent job of catching up in every single way up to this point, however, so they won't be too discouraged if R manage to take the Dragon Knights. Arthur's going up onto the top shrine again.
Seems like they want to catch onto the camp. Now the pressure is against them. What are they going to do? They just hit 10. But the big macro is, of course, against them. They're going to lose the bottom shrine because they have been putting a lot of their power onto the top lane.
Going in for a small gank.
Hamlin was not caught once, but there's the hunt used for escape here.
Not
nice
bad,
use.
not bad.
Nicely used for an escape, because if he didn't, I think he would have gone down for sure.
And they rotate Falstad to the bottom side of the map, the opposite side where their bruiser camp is pushing, so they will be able to put down a lot of damage onto the top fort. And the outer wall of the top fort is one of the most important structures in all of Dragonshire, but Raven managed to get a pick off onto EZZ, and this is huge.
It's huge, especially when there's an extra pressure onto the bottom lane. Of course, you're trading, but if you cannot soak in the EXP, Arthur had to move down there to actually soak a little bit of EXP, but you will be losing that fort regardless.
So, had the pick onto Falstad not been there, then RR would have been able to take the top fort while defending the bottom fort, but instead, thanks to that keep, that pick, Raven are able to turn it into an exchange.
And there's a hunt coming in. The heal at the perfect timing, though. The Cocoon really not doing too much. EDZ comes in. There's a gust available anytime to isolate, and Dion gets the Ancestral at perfect timing.
Really decent Ancestral coming out of Chom. A lot of heroics used, does not amount to anything, but both sides have mercenary camps pushing away at their side lane, so retention will defuse for now. Nice hook, but he has the dash.
He has the dash when Ancestral's down. A lot of heroics used on both sides, but Divine Shield was still available. They could have dove in a little bit more.
Something that I also find interesting is the Wave of Force taken by Li Ming. She could have gone for either, I believe, but NMX has always been a little fond of Wave of Force, and it's really preference at this point, so nothing wrong with that.
Also, if you get hooked, it's another tool for your own escape, or sometimes for your teammates too. So it's a good tool to get a kill, and EZZ seems to be...
Oh, wow. And this is what we were talking about in the draft phase, right? Getting a pick onto a Falstad in the solo lane is so easy when you have both Illidan and Genji on your team. We have seen it happen in so many matches between other top teams as well. And Raven abusing their comp.
Massively here in Darvish.
Really safe. Oh!
That was a nice attempt, actually. It was a little bit slow. But still, a nice angle. Once he gets that fishing hook at 16, maybe he will get the max range hooks now.
The intention was in the right place, and RRR no control of both temples, so they're looking to have a 5v5 team fight here. The second hook misses. And overall, Raven, so much pressure being put out. Even taking the siege camp.
There's the hunt used onto False at the beginning of the fight. There's the cocoon. HGC is caught, and the gust will not save her for the moment. Greymane is all out of the fight. Maybe they're lacking damage. There's a perfect Ancestral.
Really good Ancestral.
And Divine Shield will save Oda for the moment. Seems like Illidan is trying to take Stitches down, but he's all alone. Can he actually... He does escape there too.
This should be the end of the team fight, and 3 dead on the side of RRR, 1 dead on the side of Raven.
And look at the wave on top too, it's insane. The Dragon Knight goes to Raven.
All lanes pushing for Raven. They take the Dragon Knight. This is definitely going to be at least a fort, probably 2, or a fort and an outer keep wall. So very well done by Raven. I believe that this game is really showing that Metal Slug, probably a better Rehgar player than an Uther player. I believe that he should have used Divine Shield on Falstad way earlier, because Falstad could do nothing in that team fight.
That's
deleted
right.
almost immediately from dive pressure coming out from Genji and Illidan. And Darvish and Hamilton doing a superb job in this game so far.
Or just using it on Greymane a little bit earlier, because Greymane was forced out of the fight from all the damage. Maybe putting on that Divine Shield from the beginning so he could do a lot more damage when everything was all gathered up. You can do massive damage with your Qs.
Alternatively, I would not have been angry to see a Divine Storm coming out as well against the dive. That would have been continuously coming out from Illidan and Genji.
There's a big rotation, but also has to use Cocoon. They're
oh no,
kicked into the team fight, but actually did not get focused at all. So good news for Oda for now. No hook. Again. Could have been a good hook onto the other side, because there's the wall standing still, but nothing gained. But still down on talent, and they are trying to go in here. Ancestral available, Dragon Blade available.
Very decent.
And Darvish will look toward the kill and gets the kill. And the hunt comes in onto EZZ, gets healed. Arthas is dead, and they will steal this camp too.
When Raven are in the zone, they are so aggressive, so confident, and this is the kind of play that we want to see come out of them. Staying ahead in map pressure continuously. And Falstad, as you can see, very afraid to move anywhere too far on the map now due to the repeated ganks coming out from Raven.
That was questionable. I think he could have actually used Divine Shield.
Yeah, the Divine Shield.
I think it was available at the moment exactly.
Came off cooldown as he fell, so I don't know. I think it was okay to save it, because winning that team fight would have not brought too many immediate benefits, so maybe...
Yeah, there was still a talent down at that moment.
Yeah, so I can see why he would not have wanted to use it, so not too big of a deal. They are now on equal talent tiers again.
Yep, that's exactly what they did. And against that, taking all the camps right before the Shrines fight. So RRR has to go in. This is the last remaining one, but Raven already smells this and finds out right now. And Illidan is away, but there's the hunt available, and Dragon Blade just came back on cooldown. Kong takes so much damage. He has to back off. Divine Shield also used with the Gust. And Hamlin dives alone. Maybe this is the wrong choice.
Not too much damage going down onto the Hamlin. Oh, but the Ancestral misses. This could be huge. But Oda falls as well.
Yeah, 1-1 trade. Ancestral will be back in 5 seconds. Since Darvish is doing so much damage. There's the reset. And looking for more. Dashing in, doing so much more damage. EZZ goes down. Another reset. He will get the Qs too.
Full team wipe.
Oh, that seemed desperate. That helping hand was... I'm not going alone. Let's go together, Uther.
Oh god. So RRR moving down onto that bottom mercenary camp. As you said, did feel a little bit desperate. They were clearly pressured to take some risk to getting back into an advantageous position for the game, but the problem is that they probably didn't really need to do that. Or at least if they were going to rotate into that part of the map, then I would have liked to see them attempt to, you know, Mighty Gust into bio, some kind of more proactive opening up of the team fight like that, especially since Illidan was a bit far away, and if they had used the aggressive flight into Gust, into bio, then Illidan would have had about 5 seconds of dead time before he could have arrived to the fight. So RRR trying to take a risk but not going all in on it led to their downfall in that team fight there. And Raven, level 20 Dragon Knight, going on to an open core. This should be game if they don't make too many mistakes.
Yes, and they do have Gust available.
That could change things.
And disengage can be real along with the Divine Shield. They can sustain for some time, but not if you get hit by those skill shots like that.
Oh, but
Leaving dies!
Ancestral misses as well. 7 seconds left on that Ancestral.
Well, Dragon Knight is hitting on the core, but still just taking out the shield, and DeYoung is very low, has to borrow
Half
charge.
health on the Dragon Knight.
Oh wait, Darvish is doing something, but not too much, as still this core is still very healthy. 62 left.
Oh, Darvish gets hit by the core.
Darvish gets low, 40%. Ancestral connects, but no damage left. Chom goes down. DeYoung is looking for his life here, but onto the chase, and Odug is into the wolf form. He's looking for the kill.
Hamilton has balked and the hunt, so he will probably be okay. Or will he not?
Not if you get rooted and slowed and hooked.
Okay, so he used the bolt and the hunt. Okay, so
barely.
Not the cleanest escape, but an escape nevertheless. And Raven, we talked about them being able to win this game had they not made any mistakes, but they made 2 huge ones. Probably 3 huge ones if you count.
Oh,
Genji
Eminem,
what
are you
doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, so it still won't be game for
Throws
Raven.
after throws!
It's okay, it's okay. It's not game, and
so much more opportunity for RRR now. They hit 20, they can come back here. Of course, losing that keep was crucial, but their other keeps are remaining, getting this forward, pushing on the bottom. They have the macro on themselves now.
all heroics are available for RRR, and due to Hamilton falling right there, they have 30 seconds left on Illidan. So if they play this correctly, then this should be a keep, and should they be feeling adventurous, this could be a core attempt. I don't think it will be that, but let's see.
They will at least try to get this keep for sure, and they are pushing in. Illidan's still down for another 17 seconds, but the thing is, you can join in the team fight anytime right after the spawn with the hunt available. There's the hook onto NMX. Great cleanse coming out from Chum. There's a dive
they
from
want to
DeYoung.
start the team fight a bit early.
Divine Shield almost wasted. Not too much damage, and NMX gets healed, and Illidan will be coming back with the hunt anytime soon.
Kong was way too deep, but the Gust saves his life. And Raven, they decide not to chase, which is probably the right call to make. Raven are on the back foot now, though, and they failed to take down the keep. So at this point, you have to criticize RR for not being a little bit more decisive. Their indecisiveness has shown again. If they just wanted to take the keep and back off, then they could have used the premature Gust to prevent Raven from damaging the Siege Giants.
Right.
Just got in the keep, then backed off immediately. That's what they should have done. But instead, they were unsure what they exactly wanted to do, so decided to save the Gust and ended up not taking the advantages that they should have taken. So
that was close to see the HP bar on to.
Had that hook landed.
Nice try.
Nice try.
Nice try from Dakuluk, but that's not going to be enough to win the game, and they need a game-winning hook if you bring in Stitches.
Catapult pressure on the bottom side for Raven. Mercenary pressure on the top side for RRR.
That's right, but they got the Sun Shrine on top, so that'll relieve some pressure because they are focusing on the bottom to release the bot because they do not have the keep catapults are pushing.
So they're going to reverse the lane pressure on the top side of the map. But RR, if they decide to be a little bit more proactive again, then they can decide to move upon the bottom keep and attempt to take it down. And that's what they're doing.
Exactly. They have some pokes and hooks onto Genji. Not going to be too impactful there.
The stun wasn't immediate onto Genji, so he gets to dash out, but still some cooldown remaining on the dash. DeYoung very low, and the keep is very low as well, so it's going to be a dead keep.
Odog dives in. The camp has been pushing the top, and there's the hunt onto Odog. Has to use the Gust for disengage. Perfect tool. Also pop the Bile. It's not the worst choice.
And thanks to...
And they will get the Dragon Knight if they will for sure. There's no harass coming out from Raven at all. And there's more than enough time, yes.
Oh, wow. So that hunt attempt from Hamelin was so bad in so many ways. First of all, it was a very premature attempt to initiate the team fight like that. I don't think it would have amounted too much. Oh, but they decide to go for the team fight. This is the right call. This is the right call.
Massive, actually. Repulsion helping him. There's a dive into Hamelin. Living dies! So much damage removed. There's the epic bound put. Worth. So worth when you have no more Ancestral. Rhaegar died. This seems like it could be game. It seems like it is game at this moment, losing 2 members.
And the HUD lands again, but the Divine Shield is on point this time. Illidan gets booted away.
That's game.
This is game. Oh my god.
Wow.
Such a huge mistake from Hamelin. That last hunt allowed RRR to just fly onto the top temple and take the Dragon
Li Ming
Knight.
got very aggressive. She was looking for the kill. She got all the shots landed, but the heals came in at the right moment and didn't use the Divine Shield too early and saving for a later fight. And that's core. That's game and the end of the series. RRR takes a 3-0 victory over Raven.
Raven looked to be in control of this game for so long, but
yes,
a series of hasty decisions coming out from RRR in the mid-game looked like the series was going to go to a 2-1. It was going to be anybody's game from that point. But suddenly, a series of bad decisions, a little bit characteristic of Raven at this point, came out again. And RRR did the right job. They capitalized on it very well. And again, stellar Falstad play. We criticized her a bit when she was getting dove repeatedly from Illidan and Genji. But then again, that's something that happens to virtually all Falstads when they're playing against that particular combination of heroes. And after that, her flights, her use of Epic Mount, her gusts, almost everything was on point.
And also that was possible because MSG really picked up on his Uther style. Whenever Falstad was damaged, the heal came in instantly, got that armor, so she was able to make those moves with those heals coming in. And later on, the Divine Shield has been a lot better too. And on the other side, Chom has been missing lots of Ancestrals and towards the end, and the teamwork got better in terms of for Raven, and it got worse. It got better for RRR, and it got worse for Raven in game number 3. I thought Raven had very good chance of taking game 3 too.
Yeah, and the most memorable mistake is always the one that happens last. So we talked a little bit about Hamelin's wrong decisions with the hunt, which is sort of like reminiscent of his wrong hunts in Game 2 as well. But if you think about the game as a whole, then the greatest blunder came out when Raven had the level 20 Dragon Knight, had the level 20 advantage. We're going for an open core with a full health Dragon Knight. Then suddenly NMX decides to go all in for a solo kill that he did not really need to go for. Then he died, the Ancestral missed.
That was right.
It was all downhill from there for Raven.
Yeah, it also happened for Aura. They could have focused all the damage onto the keep. So it seems like the shot calling is a missing. It's not too complete for both of the teams, but the last end decisions from Hamelin, I think that decided the game very big. But before next series, we are going to hear from one of the members from RRR. Let's see who comes up on the interview zone.
축하합니다.
Congratulations!
드디어 이겼네요.
Finally, you guys won. Kong from RRR.
수 있으니까 간단히 본인 소개부터 부탁드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요. 알랄랄에 올라운드 갖고 있는
Hello, I'm Flex from RRR. I'm Kong.
저랑 본지 이제 오래됐잖아요.
Kong, it's been a while since I saw you on
긴장을 많이 하신 것
up here. I think you're pretty nervous right now on the desk.
이겨서 좋네요.
Of course, it feels good to win.
옛날에는 이기는 게 그냥 기본이었잖아요.
You used to win a lot more, you know.
네.
근데 어떠세요? 이렇게 계속 막 얻어맞다 드디어 오늘 1승.
And how does it feel to get beat up so many times and come up finally here?
빡 두드려 맞았죠 이번 시즌.
아, 저희
You got lots of punches in your faces, you know.
올라온 사람이 많아가지고 그냥 처음부터는 맞고 시작하자라는
We knew it was going to be very tough against all the teams.
생각이었거든요.
We were willing to actually
계속 연습하다 보니까
admit
좋은
and
결과가
lose
나오는
if we
것
cannot
같아요.
win.
네.
And
일단
by practicing
뭐
so
여러 가지
hard, this happened
RRR의
today.
그
You know.
첫 번째 세트를 잡고 나서의 분위기가 좀 궁금하긴 합니다.
How was the atmosphere when you guys won the first game?
네.
그냥 불지옥은 연습을 많이 해가지고
Infernos, we had
오.
lots of practice,
그냥 이겼구나 했는데
and I thought we won because of that.
저희가 잘하는 맵이 없으니까
And after that, there's not many battlegrounds that we're really good at,
네.
other than Inferno
네.
Shrines.
아, 이경이 이겼지만 그래서 3경기는 사실 거의 질 뻔했잖아요.
How was game number 3? You guys almost lost game number 3.
어떤 기분이었어요? 어떤 오더가 나왔죠?
What were you shot calling? As he is the shot caller.
했는데 저는 막을만 하다고 아직 강풍도 있고 하면서
He thought it was
이기면
defendable at the moment. They had
그
we had
오덕
Gust
선수가
available,
리밍을 잘라주는 바람에
and we got the kill onto Leeming too.
사실 리밍이 계속해서 이재 선수를 많이 노렸잖아요. 상대 레이븐 입장에서.
And Leeming was going towards
이재
EGC
선수를
so many
계속 노릴 때
times.
오히려 역으로 리밍이 끊기는 경우들이 몇 번 나온단 말이죠.
네.
그런 것들도 다 준비가 돼 있는 그런 부분이었었나요?
그
Was that all? Was the
그거는
counterplay
금메달
all
하는 거기 때문에
practiced and reserved?
야, 그거는 금해가 알아서 하는 거야. 뭐 이런
네,
느낌이네요.
That's all up to
치킨으로
Odok.
가야
되니까.
It's
네.
his own decisions to actually go for Leeming.
네.
관심 없나 봐요.
He does whatever he wants to.
어.
징징거려가지고
It's all right.
살려달라고.
Because he
누가 제일 징징 거려요?
그 폴스 타스가
네.
살려달라고 해서
아,
지키러 가야죠 저는.
and Falstad was looking for help, and
절대
I gotta go help her. You
계속
know.
혼내고 왔어요.
혼내고 왔어요? 게임 중에 징징거리지 마라.
그 처음에 미드에서 사냥 맞고 죽었잖아요.
예.
Started whining after dying a
사냥을
couple of
받고
times
이길 수
after getting
있다고.
hunted,
계속 알려줬죠.
와, 상남자시네.
and
끌려다니지 않네요?
I was taking care of her within the game, and even after.
킹콩이네요. 일단
And
그리고 그
Kong, as
세트가
you're the King
마무리가
Kong
되고
here.
나서 항상 이재 선수가 이제 하이파이브를 했단 말이에요 오늘은.
And you were doing high
옆에 있는
five
태권도
so many
선수는
times after the game.
쳐다보더라고요. 혼자 박수
But the other
네,
three,
혼자서 태권도
they were
보면서,
just clapping by
이거
themselves.
맨날
Like,
하이파이브 하고 있고.
저한테 하자 해서
아 그래요?
해준 거죠.
아
Oh.
역시.
EGC asked for it, so of course I had to do
본인이
it.
뭐 역시 콩.
They're making fun of Kong because they're the only couple.
네. 본인이 막 뱀픽도 혹시 본인이 대부분 하시나요?
Are you also the
그래
drafter?
보여서 그래요. 이제
The one in
뱀픽도
charge of
그렇고
draft?
막 전체적인 운영과 오더도 본인이 하나요?
네.
예,
어.
그러니까
You're also doing shot calling too, right?
아니, 그
Yes.
정우서식 약간 그 노잼 메타의 어떻게 보면은 수제자 중에 한 명이잖아요.
He's one of the disciples of
네,
Uther, the
도망다니고 운영하고
Uther
픽하고.
Jung, the Korean
그
commentator,
영향을 많이
the
받으셨나요?
long time back in
저희가
history in
한타를
Korean
못해서
Super League long time
이기려면
ago.
그거라도 해야죠.
아.
And of course, you can't see Uther anymore, but
근데
of
오늘
course,
운영
I
나쁘지
have to step
않았습니다.
up
저희가
and
약간
show my
그
best
느낌
play, you
봤어요.
know.
그 MVP 블랙 같은 그런 느낌에서 슬슬 본다. 그래서 오늘 MVP 그레이 정도까지는 오늘 봤거든요. 그래서
네.
So we saw some parts of MVP Black in your side, and it was not MVP Black, but MVP Gray about that much.
하기 때문에
네.
모르겠어요.
아 본인이 하고 싶은 대로 하는 거예요?
네.
뭐 떼걸룩이나 뭐 앞에 오덕이나 뭐 그 사람들의 의견은 그냥 완전 의미 없고요?
연습 때 제 의견 말고 다른 사람 의견 해봤는데
네.
Practice.
안 돼.
We tried to
안
shot
되기도
calling with
하고
other people.
뱀픽 끝나고 나면 이게 더 좋다 생각이 나더라고요.
아.
And after the drafting phase, I always came up with a better
알겠습니다. 자, 그러면
idea.
이제
So,
아바투르 인터뷰를 한번 시작을 해보도록 하겠습니다. 요거를
and let's
써야
start.
된다고 그러더라고요,
Let's
피디님.
do it.
네, 저 어제 한번
Avatar interview time.
치고.
네. 이게 잠깐만요. 이거 머리카락 좀
조현철 지금 웃는 거예요?
네. 머리카락
껴?
좀 정리하고요.
Oh my.
내가 이걸?
얼굴 좀 보여야 되니까.
네.
지금 35밖에 안 됐잖아요.
네,
이거 딱
아직
어릴만.
어려요.
이거 굉장히 어려서 아직.
Guys,
he's only 35.
35이면
네.
사실 이제 막
Which is
걸음마를
33 or 34 in US.
이제 걷기 시작했는데요. 뭐.
네.
자 그러면
He's ready. Finally.
시작해 보도록
네.
하겠습니다. 자 오늘의 아바투르 조현철 그만 웃을래 너?
네. 자 아바타
너무
인터뷰.
웃잖아. 자 아바투르 인터뷰 한번 시작해 보도록
네.
하겠습니다. 떼걸록 선수와 MSG 선수가 이제 그
As Tekoluk and
바꿨어요?
MSG had the role swap
요게 이제
tonight.
성공적인지를
You think that was successful?
성공적이었나요 오늘?
네.
Yes.
내가 이걸 열심히 했었는데
그치.
내가 이걸
You took all that time.
네 하고
네, 한번 해.
얘기.
더 있어요?
얘기하는데
오케이, 오케이.
What else you have to say?
선수가 서포터도 앞에 있더라고요.
아.
포지션이.
네.
근데
아.
그 옆집 게임에서는
네.
그
그래도 돼요.
서포터가 이니시를 자주 걸잖아요.
And when
근데
in the
그
other MOBA that he used to play,
있고
they
원래
used to
공격적이
initiate the
나오니까
fight
탱커를
actually. So
되게 하고
I think
싶다고 해서
him moving into the tank role, which could
MSG
initiate the fight here.
선수로
네.
한번
I think it all worked out and
훨씬 나은가요?
예.
아
확실히
자꾸
달라요?
아
we actually gave it a try and it worked out so much better. So we kept it.
자꾸 그렇게 이상하게 하냐 이런 거?
아 근데
그렇지 않죠?
그거는
네.
그 옆집 게임의 영향이 크기 때문에
아,
I think it had to do
그 영향이
about his all the
잔뜩 남아있네.
old experiences coming in.
태클럽 선수가
네.
지원가 계속하다가
네.
많이 안 좋았죠.
아 근데 그때는 다 못해가지고 저희가.
아 그렇죠. 또 많이 연습을 통해서 늘고 있으니까.
And not just his support,
자, 이제
his entire
남아있는
team
경기
did not have the
RRR 한
best
경기
result,
남아있고,
but
네.
굉장히
Putting that aside,
강팀이라고 볼 수 있는 이제 템페스트와의 경기가 남아 있습니다.
and you have a match against Tempest now next week.
템페랑 연습을 많이 해서
We actually scrimmed against them a lot,
저희가 많이 밀리긴 하는데
네. 몇
and
면 나와요?
we lost a lot, but
게임하면.
많이 져요.
we lose a lot.
여기까지
Yes.
그렇게 들어가요 지금.
아 이거
어.
썼으니까 뭐라도 물어봐야 될 거 아니에요.
오늘 이겨가지고 행복한데 거기까지네.
끝나고 치킨 먹을 거잖아요, 그렇죠?
아뭐
안 먹을 거예요?
네.
치킨 많이 먹은 것 같은데 요새?
You guys,
어제 먹고 왔어요.
어제 먹었죠.
먹었죠.
그러니까 이거 야식 메타.
here's a question about
제가
chicken.
처음 봤을 때보다
It's the
지금
KFC
제가
guys. The
먹는 게
Korean
맞아요?
fried
그
chickens
키로수
are the
드린 거
best.
플러스만 얘기해볼게요.
They always ask
정확히 제가 볼 때는 한 17.
questions about chicken.
비슷해요.
맞죠? 이게 왜 그러냐면 제가 예전부터 얼굴을 봐와서
네.
키로수 딱 보여요.
As the
그러니까
Marine
얼마나 지금 몸무게 들었는지.
saw
이수가
Kong
뭐라고 안
from
해요?
years ago now. He knows, but just by looking at him, if he gained weight or lost weight, lost any weight.
아, 한창
네.
좋을 때기 때문에.
Seems like he
자,
did it
마지막으로
at
RRR
all.
사랑해 주시는 분들을 위해서 또 앞으로의 각오한 말씀 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Let's hear from you. The last shout-outs.
어제 인벤에 많이 올라오더라고요. 저희가 이겼으면 좋겠다고.
네.
And we saw the post from the community that
열심히 한것 같은.
lots of people were hoping that we would win tonight. And we did, and we paid them back, which I'm really glad about, and thank you for all your
경기
feedback.
결과 한번 살펴보도록 하겠습니다.
That's it from Kong. The first interview from RRR actually, and it is a 3-0. What do you have to say? What do you have to say about this?
You know, RRR, they used to be really bad compared to all of the HGC teams, including Raven. They were 4-0'd in the Crucibles, remember, and would not have joined the league had not GG disbanded and gave them the extra spot. And since they were the top team in the open division, they got automatically promoted. So everyone expected that they would stay at the bottom of the rungs, that they would stay worse than Raven. But how much difference can practice make? We saw it today. RR clean sweeping over Raven, and remember, they were clean swept only 2 months ago. In fact, 2 or 3 months ago.
That's
I think
right.
it was
Only
2 months
2.5 months ago. Yes.
So an amount of practice can change everything, and we're not going to pretend that RR is going to be MVP Black 2 months down the line.
MVP Gray for
but
now.
perhaps they can be MVP Gray and perhaps even get wins against other teams in the league. And this is the kind of sustained development that HGC wants to promote in all regions. So I believe that we got a taste of what this ecosystem can bring forward to teams like RR today. And we're going to see you very soon after this break.
Yep, and let's talk about MVP Gray, MVP Miracle, and MVP Black is waiting for us after this longer of a break. So guys, take a break, and we'll be back in 10.